Ever get the feeling that someone in your life is quietly, almost imperceptibly grading you? Not on what you say, but on, well, everything else? The way you hold a door, how you react to a stray animal, the comment you make about a stranger's outfit, and you just know deep in your bones that you're being measured against some invisible, impossibly high standard you never even knew existed. If that person is an INFJ, well, buddy, you're not imagining things. You are absolutely 100% being tested. Welcome, my friend. Take a seat. Let's talk about the silent, unspoken, and utterly exhaustive examination you've been undergoing from the INFJ in your life. They haven't told you. They'll never tell you. But by the time we're done here, you'll know exactly what was on the final. The architect of the unseen exam. First off, let's be clear about who we're dealing with. The INFJ isn't just your average personality type. They're the rarest type in the Myers-Briggs constellation, often called the advocate or the counselor. But that makes them sound like gentle, passive listeners, and that's only half the story. They are, in reality, emotional architects. They are constantly designing and building intricate internal models of the world, of people, of relationships, and of possibilities. And you, my friend, are a key variable in their latest design. Their entire worldview is built on a foundation of intuition and feeling. They're reading the emotional energy of a room the way a sailor reads the wind. They can't help it. It's their native language. So this test isn't some malicious scheme. It's their fundamental, hardwired process for navigating a world that often feels too loud, too shallow, and too harsh for their sensitive souls. They are subconsciously trying to answer one burning question. Is it safe to let you in? The initial scan, the vibe check you never saw coming. Before you've even finished your first sentence, the exam has begun. The INFJ's intuition is like a supercomputer running a million background processes. They're absorbing your posture, the tone of your voice, the flicker in your eye, the energy you radiate. They're not doing this to be judgmental. It's a survival mechanism. This is the vibe check, the preliminary scan that determines whether you even get a ticket to the main event. Do you feel genuine? Are you putting on front? Does your energy feel heavy or light, open or closed off? They might not even be consciously aware they're doing it, but their gut is already forming an impression. A forced laugh, a rehearsed compliment, a hint of condescension. These are all red marks on your paper before you've even gotten to the first question. They're looking for that spark of authenticity, that raw, unpolished realness that is the only currency that truly matters in their world. The authenticity gauntlet. Can you handle the real them? All right, you passed the initial vibe check. Now comes the first major section of the test, the authenticity gauntlet. The INFJ will, almost cautiously, offer you a small piece of their true self. It might be a quirky opinion, a vulnerable anecdote, a deeply held belief that they don't share with just anyone. This is not just conversation, this is bait. They are laying a tiny, precious trap for you. How do you respond? Do you dismiss it? Do you immediately pivot the conversation back to yourself? Do you give a shallow, placating response like, oh, that's cool, and move on? Or worse, do you mock it? If you do any of those things, you'll hear a silent but deafening clang as a massive gate in the INFJ's inner world slams shut. You might not even notice anything change. They're too polite to show it, but you've just been relegated to acquaintance status in perpetuity. However, if you engage with that offered piece of authenticity, if you ask a thoughtful question, share a similar feeling, or even respectfully debate the point with genuine curiosity, you'll see it. A subtle light in their eyes, a slight relaxation of their shoulders. You just found the first key. You've proven you can handle a fragment of their depth, and that makes you intriguing. The empathy obstacle course. Do you feel what they feel? INFJs are emotional sponges. They feel everything, often to an exhausting degree. A core part of their testing process is determining if you possess even a shred of this capability. They're constantly setting up little empathy obstacle courses for you to navigate. They'll point out the elderly man struggling with his groceries across the street. They'll tell you a sad story about a friend of friend. They'll watch a commercial about abandoned animals and gauge your reaction. They're looking for a specific, almost primal response. Not performative, look how nice I'm empathy, but a genuine, visceral flicker of understanding. A quiet that's so sad, a moment of shared silence, an offer to actually help that man with his groceries. They need to know that you see the suffering in the world and that it matters to you. If you brush it off with a well, that's life, or heaven forbid, make a cruel joke, it's an immediate and catastrophic fail. You've just shown them your emotional range is a puddle, and they are an ocean. They cannot build a bridge between those two worlds. The depth dive, skimming the surface versus plunging into the abyss. Small talk is, for the INFJ, a special kind of torture. It's the linguistic equivalent of chewing on cardboard. They will engage in it out of social necessity, but their entire being is screaming for substance. The depth dive is a critical part of the exam. They will deliberately steer a conversation away from the weather and into the metaphorical. They might ask, "What do you think your purpose is?" or "What keeps you up at night?" out of the blue. This is where many test takers panic and fumble. The INFJ isn't looking for a perfectly philosophically sound answer. They're looking for the attempt. They want to see that you're willing to dive below the superficial layer of existence, even if you're not a great swimmer. If you deflect with a joke, give a cliche answer, or look at them like they have 3 heads, the test is over. But if you take a moment, look inward, and try to articulate something real, even if it's messy and uncertain, you score major points. They don't need you to be a deep-sea explorer. They just need to know you're willing to get your feet wet. The consistency conundrum, your words versus your actions. If there's one thing that will make an INFJ write you off forever, it's hypocrisy. Their internal radar for inconsistency is finely tuned and brutally accurate. The consistency conundrum is a long-term, multi-part exam. You say you value honesty? They will watch how you tell a white lie to get out of a boring event. You claim to be a loyal friend? They will note how you speak about your other friends when they're not around. You preach about kindness? They will remember the time you were short-tempered with a barista. For the INFJ, your character isn't defined by your grand declarations. It's defined by the 1,000 tiny choices you make when you think no one who matters is watching. They are those who matter, and they're always watching. Every mismatch between your words and your actions is a black mark. Conversely, when they see you living your values, especially when it's difficult or inconvenient, their trust in you grows exponentially. You are proving you are a person of integrity. And for the INFJ, integrity is the bedrock of any meaningful connection. The loyalty litmus test. Are you a safe harbor? INFJs have a few deeply ingrained fears, and one of the biggest is betrayal. Their trust is not given. It is earned slowly and painstakingly. The loyalty litmus test is their way of stress testing the foundation you're building. They might share a minor secret with you to see if it gets back to them through the grapevine. They will observe how you handle their vulnerabilities. Do you guard them fiercely, or do you use them as conversational currency with others? This test is about determining if you are a safe harbor in the stormy seas of their emotional world. Can they be their weird, intense, passionate, and sometimes gloomy selves around you without fear of judgment or gossip? If you ever violate a confidence or mock something they held sacred, the damage is almost always irreparable. The walls will go up higher and stronger than before, and you will never be granted access again. But if you prove yourself to be discreet, dependable, and steadfast, you become one of the chosen few, a sanctuary for their soul. The moral compass calibration. Where do your true norths align? INFJs are guided by a powerful, often uncompromising, internal moral compass. They are not necessarily rigid, but they have core, non-negotiable principles. A huge part of their testing involves moral compass calibration. They're trying to see if your fundamental values align with theirs. This doesn't mean you have to agree on everything. Debate can be healthy, but it does mean you need to share a baseline of human decency. They'll bring up social issues, ethical dilemmas, or personal moral questions to gauge a reaction. Are you compassionate? Are you just? Do you think about the broader consequences of actions? If your moral compass points towards selfishness, prejudice, or cruelty, you are fundamentally incompatible. They might remain civil, but any hope of a deep bond is gone. They are drawn to those who want to make the world a gentler, more understanding place. If you show that you're on that same team, even if your playbooks are different, you pass this crucial section with flying colors. The energy exchange audit. Are you a drain or a fountain? Let's hit a little metaphysical for a second. INFJs are extremely sensitive to energy. Interactions for them aren't just conversations. They're exchanges of vital life force. They're constantly running an internal energy exchange audit after every time they spend with you. Do they feel energized, inspired, and seen after our interaction? Or do they feel drained, exhausted, and used? They're natural givers and healers, and they often attract people who want to take. They are hyper-aware of this dynamic. They're testing to see if you're a fountain or a drain. A fountain adds to their energy. You share ideas, you laugh, you offer support in return, and the interaction feels reciprocal. A drain only takes. You dump your problems without asking about theirs. You dominate the conversation. You leave them feeling emptier than before. If you're consistently a drain, the INFJ will begin to distance themselves. It's not personal, it's survival. They have to protect their own energy to function. Showing that you care about their energy, that you ask how they are doing, is a surefire way to ace this audit. The unspoken invitation. Can you see the world through their eyes? Beyond all the specific tests, there is one overarching final exam. It's the unspoken invitation. The INFJ lives in a world of rich internal landscapes, symbolic meanings, and hidden connections. Their greatest longing is to find someone who can, even for a moment, step into that world with them. They are constantly sending out invitations through their words, their art, their passions, and their silences. The test is whether you accept the invitation. Do you try to understand their obscure favorite movie? Do you listen when they explain why a particular song shatters them? Do you look at the sunset not just as a pretty thing, but as a moment of profound beauty? You don't have to fully understand it. You just have to be willing to try to see it. When you ask, "Help me see what you see," you're giving the INFJ one of the greatest gifts possible, the feeling of being truly understood. This is the ultimate passcode. This is how you become not just a friend, but a confidant, a kindred spirit, a part of their inner universe. The grand finale, when the walls come down. So what happens if you pass? If you navigate the vibe check, run the authenticity gauntlet, conquer the empathy course, and consistently prove yourself to be a person of depth, integrity, and positive energy, you witness a miracle. The walls, so high and so formidable, begin to crumble. The INFJ will start to initiate contact. They will share their bizarre and wonderful ideas with you first. They will trust you with their biggest dreams and their deepest fears. They will become fiercely, protectively loyal to you. The testing doesn't completely stop. It's their nature, but it shifts from being a defense mechanism to a way of deepening the connection even further. They will use their intuition not to look for your flaws, but to understand your needs and anticipate how to make your life better. You will have earned the trust of one of the most complex, insightful, and profoundly loving personalities on the planet. Conclusion: the test is a gift. It's easy to look at all this and think, wow, that's a lot of work. Why would anyone jump through all those hoops? But here's the secret, the perspective shift I want to leave you with. The INFJ's test is not a malicious game. It is the highest form of compliment. They test you because they care. They test you because their capacity for depth and connection is so vast that they must be incredibly careful about who they let into their inner sanctum. A careless choice for them is emotionally catastrophic. This rigorous, unspoken examination is their process of finding a soul worthy of the immense love and loyalty they have to offer. It is a search for a true equal, a fellow traveler who won't just walk beside them on a surface road, but who will dare to dive into the depths with them. So if you have an INFJ in your life and you feel like you're being silently measured, don't resent it. See it for what it is, a quest for a genuine connection in a world full of noise and superficiality. Be authentic, be kind, be deep, and be consistent. You might just end up passing the hardest, most rewarding exam of your life, and gaining a friend for life.